So let's look at the 4 different exercises that are core to your development here. Meaning that if we do those, we will cover the movements of your fingers that you need to be very, very good at in order to play any sequence that people can throw at you. So let's get started. And I really urge you to take my challenge here and to test it and see what that does to your legato playing. So if you're struggling to play some kind of run right now that you've been reading in a magazine or in a YouTube video, then do these exercises and then return to that legato run and just feel what that does to your whole skill level. So let's get started on these 4 exercises that will make your whole overall skill level of a legato so much better. So exercise 1. So welcome to the 4 exercises. The first thing we got to do is that we got to focus on the hammer-ons. And first in a diatonic setting, and then in a pentatonic 2-note per string setting. The diatonic is 3-note per string. Those 2 are very important to cover. And the first exercise, or set of exercises really, because there are 2 in each exercise, is an ascending and a descending. In this case here, we imagine ourselves to be in the key of A minor. So we got... I'm just going to show it to you on the top 2 strings, but you can do it on all strings. But I do recommend that you stay on the top 2 strings on that until you feel comfortable enough to move to the other strings. Stay, whatever position you practice in, stay there. So you get really comfortable with the tension of the strings, the thickness of them and everything. Then it will become much easier to go to another place once you master the first place. But the first one is hammer-ons, and we want to do a string shift in between. So you simply take 2 strings, and then you go, in this case, in this scale here, 12, 13, and 15. And then another string, the E string, in the 12, 13, and 15 as well. And you want to really focus on the hammer-ons. If you're not focusing on the hammer-ons, but just the notes, then you're not practicing anymore, right? As soon as your focus goes and becomes something else, or you focus on something else, what time it is, then your brain is stopping the success-failure evaluation every time you produce a note, and so it stops getting better. Right, so that's the first thing. Remember to hammer on, do 2 strings. Very simply. And then the second exercise is the pull-offs, but you just go in a descending. And remember to do the pull-offs really effectively. If you're not doing it effectively, you're not practicing, right? You're not. Why would you be practicing then? It's like trying to put a ball through the hoop in basketball, and then you just stop aiming. You just stop, caring whether you hit it or not. Then you're not practicing, are you? You're not, because the brain can't generate any success experiences because it doesn't matter anymore. And the second you stop noticing whether you do the hammer-ons and pull-offs right, or in the most effective way, then you stop learning. It doesn't matter anymore. Alright? And then you can alternate between the 2, but stick with hammer-ons and pull-offs for an extended period of time, like the first 15 minutes. Then you can do the pull-offs, right? And then stick with that little set of exercises. The second set of exercises is where we focus on merging the 2. So now we want to do hammer-ons and pull-offs in the same exercise. So we get to first we practice with total focus, but you don't want to do the merging, the integration exercise before you really master the 2. You can start, but don't expect any magical things to happen, because you can only become as good as this second level as you are the first level, right? So what you want to do there is you want to go... What the fuck? I forgot about it. Oh. The second set of exercises is just to move to the 2-note per string format. And I'm just going to imagine that we're in the key of E minor here, so I got my pentatonic notes in the 12th and the 15th fret. This is vastly different. Also, I should say with the previous exercise that you want to move down to the 10th, 12th, and 13th fret as well. Frequently, so you go back and forth between these 2 positions, because then you practice using your 3rd finger as well. With the pentatonics here, I'm just going to do my minor 3rd intervals, and then you can do your whole tone intervals afterwards. But the whole point here is that you only have 2 notes on each string. And it feels totally different in the hand doing that hammer-on when you only have one per string. You know, you got the picking on the first, hammer on to the 15th, picking on the next, hammer on to the 15th again. Right? Somewhat easier actually to get a good slap with your third finger when you're not having the third, with your fourth finger, when you don't, have the first finger anchored first. Right? It's easier when it's the only thing. And see if you can get that hammer on to be as loud as the pick stroke. Or louder. Then you do the opposite. You go in the descending direction. Doesn't matter if you use up or down strokes or alternate between the two at this point. And this exercise, as well as the other, you want to do in the other format we have in the pentatonic scale, which is a whole tone format. Pull-offs, and you want to do the hammer-ons. Focusing on accuracy, focusing on the clearness of the note, hitting just behind the fret with the tip of your finger. Alright? So those are the two sets of exercises in the first one here. Very simple, but we just forget that you can never play an alternate or legato run without mastering this. Because this is what goes into the whole thing. This is practicing the sub-skills, and once you focus on those with an acute sensitivity to whether or not you're doing it in the most effective way, then you take out the challenges, you practice them specifically with focus, and then you become better at a rapid rate. So let's look at the next couple of exercises. And what we're doing here is that we are focusing now on doing both hammer-ons and pull-offs in the same thing, but we're staying on one string. This is such a good little sequence here that you can also use when you play, as you can with all the other exercises. It sounds like this. What's cool about this? Because I start with a pick stroke, pull off down to the first, hammer on with the third and the fourth, and then pull off and pull off again. Then hammer on and pull off. So we really get some hammer-ons and pull-offs in equal amount into the sequence, and it's such a cool classic right, very useful in any style of music wherever you go. So, and you can skip the right hand here, so you can drink coffee with it as you practice. You can do other things, write an essay or whatever, right? So let me just play it for you slowly. Essential core exercise that will merge the hammer-ons and pull-offs. But now the brain has two focuses, right? Which is impossible. So you have to practice the hammer-ons and the pull-offs individually in order for you to be able to do this with success. If you start practicing this too soon, you will become better so slow it's a drag. So that's what most people do, by the way. So we have in this case the 15th, the 14th, and the 12th, and you start picking the first note in the 15th fret, pulling it off to the 12th, then hammering onto 14th, hammering onto 15th, and then pulling off again from the 15th to the 14th and to the 12th. Then you start over again and hammer on in the 15th fret, pull off down to 12th, hammer on to the 14th, hammer on to the 15th, pull off again, all the way down. So right, and you can do that, as I said, with your left hand only. So that's pretty cool. And of course you want to go to, let's imagine we're in the key of E minor here, so you got the notes in the 12, 14, and 15 on the high E string. Then on the B string you would have the 12, 13, and 15. Once you get it up to speed, you can alternate between this. Play it twice on each. And you can turn it into a run. Right? Also. Right? So an essential exercise that merges the two, but as I said, focus on the first two exercises first and get those right, because you can never play this at any higher level than you can play the first two. So let's go into the right hand here, and there's an essential, simple exercise that you can do that will make that just so much easier to do any picking pattern that you need to do, which is basically string shifting, right? Because that's when we use the pick. That's a rule here in legato. We use the pick for string shifting, and we use the left hand for everything else. So the exercise is kind of twofold. So we got 4 little exercises in one here. But the first one is simply going. Let's take the 12, 13, and 15 in the case of A minor here on the B string. And then you have the 12th fret on the high E string. You simply go 4 notes up and down. So I pick the first note in the 12th, hammer onto 13, hammer onto 15, and hit the 12th fret on the high E string, and go right back again. And this is the crucial moment, right? I start the whole thing off here, and then hit that with an upstroke in the 12th fret on the high E string. Go back again to the B string in the 15th fret with a downstroke, and then pull off to 13, pull off to 12, and then I'm all over again. Now I'm not starting with a pick stroke because I just pulled off down to that note. So now I'm hammering onto the 13th and the 15th, and then again the string shifting up on the high E string in the 12th fret, down in the 15th fret, and then here sticky fingers on the way down, hammering. Right? Now, because I've been practicing the other exercises leading up to that, I can focus somewhat on the right hand here, because this is somewhat automatic. I want to check in once in a while, see I'm not just fretting the notes that I'm really hammering on and pulling off, but I can focus on it. Ba-da, 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 up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. You see, now if I practice it slowly with a focus on accuracy, this will be... Right? Very effective. And then what I do, please remember this, or look in the little manual we've created, that the next thing you do is that you shift, instead of hitting the E string with an upstroke and the B string with a downstroke, you shift that, so you go down on the E string and up on the B string. So you use an inside string shift instead. Very important, because those are the 2 string shifts we have when it comes to alternate picking. You want to practice both. So I go up, down, right? Next time around, I want to practice another thing completely, because it really feels differently, is down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. Right? So you want to do both the inside and the outside. Then, it's a huge exercise, right? You want to do it in the descending version as well. So instead of having 3 notes on the B string and 1 on the high E, I have 3 notes on the high E and 1 on the B. And I simply go in the opposite direction. I hit the first note on the 15th fret on the high E string and pull off down to the 13th. Pull off, and then down to 12. Then I hit the 15th fret with an upstroke, or downstroke, sorry, on the B string, and go right back again to the 12th fret, hammer onto 13, hammer onto 15th, and then pull off again, and then down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. Right? Then afterwards, I want to practice the insides as well. So I do shifting the whole thing around, so I go up, down instead. Up on the B string, down on the high E string. So I go up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. And that is basically the core action of your right hand here. Whatever we're talking about, that's what it does when you play alternate, or when you play legato. So of course, if you're fast right now in your mind and you're not tired, you would kind of see that, well, if we can do this with the 3-note per string, then we can also do it with the 2-note per string, right? We can go in that, right? Instead of having that extra note, like we did with the, right? Then you can just go outside string shift, right? And you can do the other way around as well with the inside string shift, and in the descending version, right? So you really got a nice pack of exercises here that will just, This is the gears of every single run you will ever do when it comes to legato. This is the main challenges practiced in a little group of exercises. So you want to focus on this, but you want to do it in a specific way, and that's what the next section is about.